Hi, my name is John Donahue, and today I'll be talking about the Apple Batterygate scandal. So, the Batterygate problems or issues probably existed before Tim Cook, but I'll start with him because he was the CEO at the time that it was all going down. So, Tim Cook was made CEO of Apple in 2014 in August. He was the predecessor of, or he was the follower of Steve Jobs, who was one of the co founders and obviously iconic member of Apple. Tim Cook right now is regarded as a great CEO, but in around 2017, 2018, he dealt with the Batterygate scandal that they had. So before Tim Cook was CEO, he was the vice president, or he was the president of global sales operations worldwide. So obviously he was a sales guy. He was trying to move the numbers and sell more hardware. So one of the things they tried to do was a strategy known as planned obsolescence. The American automobile industry tried this strategy in I want to say the 70s and 80s, and it led to a lot of bankruptcies. It led to a lot of bad things for the industry, and it led to a lot of people moving towards foreign cars and less American cars. Planned obsolescence is a strategy in which the product is supposed to essentially break or break down or stop being useful long before its lifespan should be up. And the idea is that if the product breaks, then people have to go out and get another one, especially in markets where there's strong brand names and barriers to competition, things like that. Like Apple holds on to all your data, it's hard to transfer it over. So the idea was that you just go get another iPhone when it breaks. Apple's method of planned obsolescence was essentially through the batteries. So the batteries were built, these lithium batteries. All lithium batteries lose charge over time, but these ones were specifically built to lose charge with the new operating systems that Apple would release. They'd release a few every year, and you don't need to download the operating systems necessarily, but it will pose a safety risk, and then it's easier for hackers to get into your information if you don't have the new operating system. And on top of that, it eventually you won't be able to download the new apps and use the new applications with the phone without having the newest system update installed. So the batteries were essentially built, and the system updates were built to work with the batteries in the sense that it just started slowing down the phone, eroding away at the battery, and slowing down the phone's ability to use its processing power from the battery, so that the phones would essentially get slower, more frustrating to use, less helpful, especially in times where signal was kind of wavering. The phones would get a lot slower. When this broke in 2018, that they were openly doing this and they were aware of it, this was an issue for multiple reasons. So first of all, in the lithium batteries, lithium obviously mainly, but several other components that are rare earth materials that we don't have a lot of and take an extremely intensive mining process to extract are used in these Apple phones. So the idea is that if people are throwing them out before their lifespan is up, we're wasting precious resources, and we're putting more of a burden on the earth by going in and mining up new resources to build new phones that we don't really need. The second argument is people need these phones. Nowadays, people rely on the phones to get them home with like Uber and apps like that when they're drunk or in unfamiliar places, or like GPS when they're on vacation or driving cross country. You use your phone to contact emergency services. Nowadays, your phones can have a lot of health information on it and help you with that. So the idea that these phones could literally impact whether or not we live and die in certain situations, the idea that they just made them stop running and potentially put us at danger so that we would go out and buy a new phone, upset a lot of people. And then third, obviously, Apple was supposed to be a quality brand. There's nothing quality about building your products so that they are supposed to break in time. That really infuriated people just because obviously people would hate to waste their money. So in the end, when this broke, people were furious about it. Apple took a huge reputation hit. But on top of that, the federal government began to investigate anti-competitive behavior, considered breaking Apple up, things like that. It really brought to the forefront this idea that big tech is getting too big to be allowed to exist anymore. And to avoid a lawsuit for anti-competitive and anti-consumer behavior, Apple was forced to slash the prices to get your battery replaced with a new battery in stores, basically down to break-even point. So they weren't making a profit anymore off of replacing these batteries. So in the end, this shortcut for Apple to make more money really backfired. It lost them money. It lost them reputation. And Apple is starting to realize, Tim Cook has realized that there's a million different directions Apple could go in that would provide service for the customers that people are willing to pay. They now have Apple TV that has a ton of people signing up. They have Apple credit card payments like Apple Wallet. They have their own credit card now, and then obviously Apple Music streaming services. So there was a million different. What ultimately was really shocking about this was there was a million different ways for Apple to make money that they didn't necessarily need to um, do this to make the phones obsolete. Their argument in the end was that they're constantly spending money on R&D. They're constantly spending money on these updates that you're getting for free that make your phone safer. So they need some way to drive profit to keep that going. But ultimately, that argument fell on deaf ears because, again, there's all sorts of ways they can make money in the software services industry without actually needing to use planned obsolescence and kind of lie to and undermine their customers.